That's right, him too. I am talking about one of our contributors, Rich Rebuilds, who is one of the non-purist electric car enthusiasts, just like myself. Well, he's more than just an enthusiast, right? He runs one of the biggest Tesla-related channels out there. He also owns one of the few independent Tesla repair shops. I put a link to that in the description of this video, but he's going to be here for his segment Talking Shop with Rich Rebuilds to explain his reasons for that. We all have our own reasons. As you guys know, I drive a Chevy Volt, which is a plug-in hybrid. And you probably know, if you've been watching this channel for a while, why that is. Roger Atkins, one of the biggest TV enthusiasts and experts in Europe, who's been on the show a few times, just recently talked to me about his reasons why he drives a plug-in hybrid while advocating for electric cars. So I can't wait for what Rich has to say here. Of course, before that, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Avanex, the aftermarket accessories for the Tesla community. Use E4 Electric as a discount code for all of your purchases over $100. And by the way, they have some really cool Model Y goodies there as well. All right, without further ado, let me bring in Rich and talk to him about this very interesting but sometimes controversial topic. Rich, welcome back to your segment here on E4 Electric.
How are you, Alex? Thanks for having me on yet again. I feel privileged, and it's only a matter of time if you kick me off the show altogether.
I strongly doubt it. I think if one of us is going to get kicked out of the show, it's still probably going to be me. But listen, we have an interesting topic today, right? Because we're both kind of, I don't want to say guilty, but kind of, you know, had the impure thoughts of you know, not necessarily, like, maybe stepping away from this electric car, you know, pure revolution, right?
Right.
I own a Tesla for a long time, only driven, you know, electric, and then I stepped back and now I drive a plug-in hybrid. And even though very rarely I put my, you know, gas in that car, I do use gas very little once in a while. I know you recently shared with me that, you know, you also have been thinking that, you know, this whole drama with Tesla that you went through more than an average person has kind of made you thinking about, you know, getting a gas car. Am I hearing this right? And if so, why?
Yeah, it's kind of a very long explanation as to why, and it mostly happened recently when Tesla started removing the supercharging from salvage vehicles. And as you know, I'm on a budget, so the goal is to save as much money as possible. And when going through the first salvage car that I had, one of the main benefits was that the car would be worth something in perpetuity because it could supercharge. The car would always be worth something, and the car will always be worth its value in gas over the next X amount of years. So if you have the car for 5 to 10 years, that's 5 to 10 years worth of free gas because you're using the supercharging network of Tesla. And as of late, Tesla said, "Hey, listen, thanks for playing, but we're not going to allow the use of supercharging anymore on this vehicle." And that was interesting to me because, when I went into it, I was like, man, this is super exciting. It's going to be awesome. I get to, drive for free using their network. And when that was removed, the value of the car was definitely a bit less to me because, the car is still valuable, but in terms of, doing a lot of the errands that I did on cold days, that 250-mile range turned to 125, and without the ability to supercharge, it made my lifestyle a lot more difficult because, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but a lot of the charging networks near me, like, whether it be, Charge Point, Electrify America, etc., their charging rates are nowhere near what people think they are.
Yeah, and let's just be very clear. It's not that your car can supercharge for free. It can't supercharge at all.
Yeah, that's right. I should be more clear on that for sure. They no longer allow cars that have had rebranded titles in the past to supercharge. So they're kind of going through the list and saying, okay, well, this car was deemed as salvage. This car was a loss. This car was in an accident, or this car was purchased from a third party. And they're removing that from all the cars slowly.
but you can still charge it at other charging networks like EVgo, Electrify America, and so forth. So
Bingo.
essentially, they turned you into a Chevy Bolt driver.
Yeah, they kind of did. And if I wanted a Chevy Bolt, I would have bought a Chevy Bolt.
And
Um,
I've heard you do not want a Chevy Bolt.
I'm just kidding around. I like beating EV owners up sometimes, but I think the Chevy Bolt isn't a very attractive car. That's why it's not doesn't really fit my personality very well. But I mean, it's tough because the car that I have, it's Dolores, the gray car, it's an older car, so there's no autopilot, rear wheel drive, tons of torque. It's a completely different and fun driving experience. But the fact that I can't charge it quickly if I need to, it makes it really really difficult.
All right, so fair enough. Now, go on with your story. How, like, are you shopping for a car now? And are you really, what are your choices? How many of your choices are electric? How many of them are gas? Maybe some plug-in hybrids? What are you looking at right now?
I was kind of looking all over. Believe it or not, I was actually, I would say about last year, I was actually looking at the Chevy Bolt. Believe it or not, I was looking at the Bolt. Yeah, it's crazy,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
And the biggest two things were number one, it's looks. I couldn't really get
totally
over.
agree. Totally
I
agree.
just I just I couldn't do it.
Now let me
And
tell you something. By the way, can I interrupt? So
of course.
I was just in Detroit where GM showed us the new generation Chevy Bolt,
Mhm.
and they unfortunately didn't let the cameras in. And I gotta tell you, they refreshed the front end, so it's
Yeah.
kind of looks all right. But
Yeah.
they kind of kept the back end and the profile from the side
Oh
pretty much
gosh.
exactly the same. So just so you know, don't get your head hopes up for a good refresh.
Yeah, people want a good looking car.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I don't think there's a lot of utility in the Bolt due to the shape, but it's just not to me. It's not an attractive car. Nine times out of ten, I'd rather have a Model 3.
I totally
And
agree. It's
and I
I
don't
guess when it comes to the Bolt, it's inside what it matters.
right, and like I don't even really like the Model 3 that much due to size.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely one of those tough things. But I mean, everyone has a budget. My budget is somewhere in the, let's just say, the mid to upper 30s or 40s or so, right? So if I want to buy a vehicle, to tell you the truth, it's not easy to find a car in that range that that has the range, right? It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
The only real contender there is a Model 3, and in my price range, you're just getting in to a Model 3, kind of. And it's just the Model 3 is my preference. It's just not big enough. It doesn't really suit my needs, and it's hard. I have to make a lot of trips coming up, and I have to drive up, let's just say 3 or 4 hours in one direction. And what's happening is my destination doesn't have proper charging or fast charging. There's let's just say EV Go there that charges at the rate of, let's just say, 4 to 5 or 6 miles an hour. I That adds several hours to the trip that aren't really worth it to me.
We
So
should say that EVgo also has a fast charging at about 50 kilowatts. I just recently used it. It's not super fast, but it's relatively fast.
right,
Uh,
but it also depends by location as well.
yeah,
It's not available in all locations.
yeah, unfortunately. All right. So now, are you looking specifically for an electric car, or from what I understand, you just want a car that's preferably electric, but you can go either way?
Yeah, and that's the thing, because again, for that price point, y- Tesla has the market by, by the what's right now, because they have the charging network, they have the fast charging infrastructure. At this point, no one else really has that, and everyone's just kind of playing catch up. Um, i- it's one of the only charging stations you could go to that has, you could drive across the US as quickly as humanly possible. And everyone else is kind of like just basically catching up to that. So in that price range, let's just say I upped it to 60 or 70, there's still nothing else that can contend with it. Not even the new Porsche that came out. Even though they're going to have charging networks at their dealerships, supposedly, it's it's really in what's en route to where you're going. I could have the fastest charging car like the Taycan, but if I can't really charge it anywhere on the way to wherever I'm going, it doesn't do much for me.
Okay, so now, do you feel like you're being kind of almost like pushed out of the club? And
Yeah,
yeah, go
it's
ahead.
it's it's unfortunate, but yeah, I think I'm really. I mean, maybe you could help me out here. I'm really racking my brain. But if you have a specific budget that you have, and you want to be able to drive long distances and not have to worry about range anxiety or a proper charging infrastructure, realistically, what can you do? What are your choices? And one of my options right now is either a plug-in hybrid or potentially going back to gas in general.
Yeah, listen, you're talking to kind of a wrong guy to give you some inspiration here. So I bought my Tesla for the reasons of not even environment. I wanted us to be, us as the United States, to be oil independent, so we don't have to go and fight all these wars. And just
Mhm.
also, I love technology, and it looks like electric cars are the ones that offer the technology. But um, what I bought my Chevy Volt way before I even decided to stop buying Teslas, essentially because I do mind sitting at the supercharger for 45 minutes, maybe even after waiting for 20 minutes to even get my spot.
Mhm.
So especially, I go to LA, usually I don't mind getting in at 1 or 2 in the morning to avoid the traffic, but now if it becomes 4 plus in the morning, then all of a sudden I do care. So
Right.
what I decided, I'm going to get a Chevy Volt, where if I have to drive long distance, I'm just going to suck it up, use gas. It's not that much, but I got places to go. And overall, I don't mind promoting plug-in hybrids as long as they have a decent electric range, because I think they're gateway drug to electric cars.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and like I still have my Volt. I haven't decided on my next electric car. Hopefully, it's going to be Byton, but we'll see. And I don't use gas when I'm driving around here in Sacramento, and I drive a lot. I only drive, use gas when I drive to San Francisco Bay Area or Tahoe, or whatever. So
Right.
honestly, I'd say it's a great choice, except for there's only one Chevy Volt and maybe BMW i3, which I also hate as much as you hate the Bolt because of the
Yeah.
look.
Right.
Technically, that's a plug-in hybrid. So yeah, man. But let me get back to kind of interesting. Why did you buy an electric car in the first place? What was the reason that you had?
Uh, I I've never driven an electric car before my Tesla at all. And I've been always known as a gearhead. I love cars. I was a big gas head, like the pouring gas in the car, the smoke, the oil, the car shaking back and forth, letting everyone know I'm stepping on the accelerator pedal. Like that was all about that life before. And a friend of mine introduced me to the Tesla, and I drove it, for only pretty much less than a quarter of a mile. And I said, "You need to tell me this thing is fast. It's extremely quiet, and it's like a stealth bomber. You'd never know how quick it was." To me, it was the new generation of motoring. I never considered the environmental impact when buying my Tesla at all, not even a little bit.
So you
It,
bought it because you believed that you found that the Tesla is just a better performance car, and you loved it for the tech. In
yep.
no way you were considering the
I
children.
said, this thing is, I said, yeah, exactly. I said, no, this thing is cool. It's fast. It's smooth. It's an excellent daily driver. Never even considered the environmental impact. It was only as I started driving the car more and really listening to the stories of Tesla owners, EV owners, and understanding what their mission was, understanding that you could have solar panels on your car, on your house that power your car. You could literally drive your car from the sun only. To me, that was the next evolution in technology, and it was amazing. Like it was really really fascinating. And I started sharing that same mindset. It was so good that I had my Tesla, and I bought another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then I started spreading the word. I was like, hey, listen, these cars are awesome. Whenever I go anywhere, you know, my car's all tricked out, it's lowered, it's wrapped, and people always approach me and say, hey, listen, like I was thinking of getting one. What do you think of these cars? And always, I'm like, hey, go for it. They're great. Pick up a Model 3, pick up a Model S. They do have their fair share of problems, and I will let you know what those are. But I will not hesitate to let people know, hey, you should. I highly recommend it. And I lead by example because if I didn't like them so much, I wouldn't have so many. I mean, the company isn't always that great in terms of decision making sometimes, but that's the thing for me, that it's still worth it. However, there's a change that's starting to happen where um, I don't take the train anymore because my full time job is now YouTube. So a lot of my time is spent in the car traveling. And when I'm traveling, it's really convenient to be able to go from destination to destination using the supercharging network. If I'm driving out of state, if I'm doing a lot of errands and it's cold outside, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the ability to do that charge very quickly was a huge advantage for me. Now, as time goes on, obviously my time is worth more and more. So really sitting at a charging station, if you think that 45 minutes is bad, waiting for a Tesla charging station and then charging and then going where you need to go next, try doing that by a factor of 5 or 6, waiting for a slower charging station.
No,
So
I hear you. I totally hear you. So, all right. So you're saying there's a possibility Rich Rebuilds goes back to a gas car?
yeah, yeah, there's definitely a possibility. Definitely a possibility. It's it's something that I still haven't got out of me as yet, that gas running in my veins. And I don't I don't mind going back and forth because remember, I when I was all gas, I gave Tesla a chance, and I wouldn't even have considered going back to gas had I still had my supercharging. Wouldn't even consider it.
That's
Wouldn't
so
even consider
weird,
it.
man.
And
It,
it's like it's because of this and because of like my time and convenience, uh it might be a thing now. It really might be a thing. I remember I'm not gonna get rid of my Tesla at all. Never get rid of any of my Teslas. I have a BMW i8, which is a plug-in hybrid.
I saw it in person. It is freaking gorgeous. I mean, I already
Thank
love i8 by the way, and I
you.
and I was lucky to drive one for a few days when BMW let me do that in England, and it was absolutely
Yeah,
amazing. But yours looks pretty freaking awesome.
thank you,
I saw it in Vegas
thank
when
you.
we chatted. So all right, but go
So
on.
so that, and I was always willing to look into that. And then for me, Tesla was a gateway drug into exploring various other technologies. Like a little known fact, after my Tesla, I also bought who knows how many, other Teslas, 4 other Teslas, and I also bought a smart a smart for 2 electric.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah,
Wait. Bolt is too ugly, but you bought a smart.
yeah. I listen. Hey, we're not here to judge, okay? Um,
Okay.
so I bought one because it was an inexpensive, short range EV, and to this day, I actually, this is a secret. I bought another one, not an actual, smart electric, but another well-known short range electric vehicle because again, it opened my mind to quiet, efficient, and fast transport. However, at this point, I still have gas in my veins. I still love performance, and even though the performance of the Tesla is great, there's other options out there that I still want to get back to. I mean, there still were shortcomings of the Tesla that I didn't fully get over. As I get older, I, for me, a nice, comfortable interior and a good driving environment are getting more important to me. As cool as the simplicity of the interior for Tesla is, I I was at SEMA, when we met in Vegas, and I got the chance to sit in various other offerings from different manufacturers, and the interiors of cars now are absolutely mind blowing. Don't get me wrong. Again, love the interior of my S, very simple, but I was effectively told that simple was the way to go. Like, this is the future. This is what you should do now. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the way things are now. But after going to other cars, I was like, this is this is pretty cool. this is cool too. So
Oh, I
it's a tough.
know.
So I'm sure you've sit. I mean, you've seen some of these. You've sat in newer cars, and as I think most could agree, but the interior of a Tesla Model S or X or 3 is I
Yeah.
it doesn't reflect the car's price.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm a luxury type of a guy. I've always driven luxury cars before. I was lucky enough to make good money in Silicon Valley in my previous job in my previous career. And Model S, I was willing to put up with that for all the tech. Model 3, the reason I am not even considering at all is the what people love about it, but for
Mhm.
me, it's not it. That's why I think cars like Lucid and Faraday Future and so forth will sell so well because they are truly luxurious electric cars, and people who
Mm,
have money will be able to afford it. They will pick that over Tesla, regardless of where how what the technology is, better or worse than a Tesla. They want cushier seats. They want the good, nice dashboard and a comfortable environment, especially like someone like you who spends a lot of time right there.
right.
So I totally understand.
And even for the what's cool is when the Porsche came out, I sat in one of those as well. It's a Taycan. I always say that wrong.
Taycan.
Taycan.
Yeah.
And I went directly from my Model S to a Taycan, and I looked around like, this is actually pretty damn cool. It's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and don't forget, Taycan is not technically even a luxury car; it's a sports car.
Right.
We can talk about Mercedes EQC, we can talk about Audi e-tron, we can talk about
Yes.
they are
That's another one too. I actually was able to sit in and drive an Audi e-tron, and I looked around like,
right,
this is
right,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
It was cool.
right. And then like EQC, for example, I asked them like before I driven one, I asked the PR guy, I say, well, what am I looking for? What are you guys most proud of? And they're like, silence, you know. And it's true luxury with silence on top of that. So I'm just saying, for some people like me and you, obviously, luxury is a little more important than how fast we can go 0 to 60,
Right.
especially when we're getting older. For example, I cannot be in a ludicrous Model S. I literally get nauseous and I get a headache
Right.
for the rest of the day. I'm too
Yeah.
old for this stuff. So
Right.
I'd rather have a little bit of extra leather, or fake leather, whatever, and a wood trimming and feel comfortable.
Right. And then it's
you know?
cool too because I honestly feel that um, when a new person that's never experienced a Tesla before sits in a Tesla, they're not blown away by the car. They're blown away by that giant center screen. And that's kind of really it because when it comes to the seats and the door handles and the interior fixings, it's a very basic and simple car. That's what they wanted. But people nowadays, or people for the past 20, 30 years, have associated luxury with finely stitched leather and various materials and leather on the door panels and tons of buttons everywhere. And in a lot of cases, I'm still kind of programmed that way. I like sitting in very comfortable seats. And you want to be pampered a lot of times. If you spend a lot of money, you want a car that's going to make you feel like a certain kind of way, and
Yeah.
a lot of the cases, again, I'm not knocking Tesla, but it can be very very cold, very electronic, almost like you're sitting in a computer with four seats. Granted, it's a very nice computer and a very good computer, but it's very basic transport. Like for example, the inside of the Model 3 looked like someone took an IKEA table and put an iPad on top of it, you know?
Absolutely,
So,
yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel the BMW iNext. The first time I was in the BMW iNext when they launched it, I was like, am I in IKEA with
right,
wheels? That's not what I want out of BMW. And
right.
then, all right, well, so here's a big question then. If you and me, who are fans of Tesla and electric cars,
Mhm.
are willing to make a step back after trying the goodies, right? Do you think overall there's the electric cars may just not be ready for the mainstream? I hate to say it, but do you think that just might be the case and we still have a few more years?
No, I think they are ready for mainstream, and I say that because not everyone's situation is the same. the statistics show that most people don't drive incredibly far for work. You know, the typical commute is under, what is it, under 20 miles, under 50 miles a day, you know, and that's more than enough range for the overwhelming majority of electric vehicles to be able to travel to back and forth.
Well, with
Um,
coronavirus, I think the distances are much shorter now. But yes, yes,
right.
that's
Yeah. They're much exactly. People
yeah.
just work. You figure, EV stocks would just kind of would surge, but I think that they are ready for mainstream. I think that people, the numbers show that, heck, they've sold 300, 400,000 Nissan Leafs. They sold 1 million Teslas already. You know, people are using these cars and it's suiting their needs. The Teslas are great because, again, they have that supercharging network so they can bounce from state to state, area to area, as quickly and as efficiently as possible. But once you lose that, it gets into a really funny gray area where you have you have the Fiat 500Es, you have the Volkswagen e-Golfs, you have those really kind of weird cars where they're really cool if they're EV, but sometimes 100 miles worth of range doesn't really work, but people make it work. So I think that just knowing that it's definitely a formidable option. I don't think everyone needs 400, 500 miles of range, when if they kind of properly plan their trip, they could make it work in a lot of cases.
All right. Well, listen, I hope you're right. I hope both of our next cars are electric. I'm thinking about one actually myself, and I definitely want it to be electric. I'm going to try to make it work. Listen, I'm looking forward to having this conversation once you actually pick one, and then we'll see which way you went.
Thank you.
Thanks, man, for hanging out with me once again, and I'll see you next month right here on this channel.
Take it easy, Alex. Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys, I hope you agree with me when I say that pretty much every topic is so much more interesting when Rich has something to say about it. So I absolutely love having him on the show. He's one of a few contributors that we have here regularly. Some of the other ones include Sandy Monroe, who has been doing pretty good on YouTube, in the last couple of weeks. Hope you're watching those videos. And the CEO of Faraday Future, Carson Breinfeld, and a few others. So if there was ever a reason to subscribe to this channel, I hope these guys, these amazing contributors, is it. So if you have a topic that you want to suggest for our future conversations, definitely put that in the description of this video. Looking forward to that. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.